Welcome to the 11th International Advertising Association India Chapter's Mentorship Webinar, World Goes Digital. Previously, we have had speakers like Rajan Anandan, Ajit Balakrishnan, Nishant Rao, Neeraj Roy, Ashish Hemrajani. They have all come and given the ground reality and opportunities of the digital space. Today amongst us, we have Rajat Barjatia, MD and CEO of Rajshri Entertainment, India's leading entertainment digital studio. Rajshri has been a household name and they have been the early adopters of the digital space. Rajshri has many YouTube channels with almost more than 3 billion views on YouTube. There'll be a lot of learnings and takeaways from this hangout. Before we start, I will just have a small video to be seen of what Rajshri does.
Keep watching Bollywood Now. This simple recipe I'm going to share with you guys, everyone can cook. You're going to be forced to have this again and again. Okay.
Superb.
Welcome to my recipe book with me, Sarika. Indo no Daidokoroへようこそ。
When you're in love, you need a W up when you're slow. You like a W up when you need a friend. Look for a W up, cause in the end, we love the W up.
Hello and welcome.
Thank you
Welcome
so much
Rajat, to the
Thank you.
I webinars, and
Thank you so much for inviting me.
would love to be chatting. We have received a fair number of questions from our from the social media,
Fantastic.
and so take us through the Rajshri journey. You know, I've heard things about I've heard that the digital play of Rajshri is possibly bigger than the film play, and we all think that Rajshri is all about films. So tell us more.
So our DNA is very much films. I'm third generation. I'm blessed to be born in a family which is at the forefront of entertainment. Since 1947, we've been producing films. Recently, we began doing lots of television shows, and thereafter, digital. So, Pradyuman, the core thinking really was there are 5 screens in your life: cinema, TV, PC, mobile phones, and tablets. We want to be across all 5. And we want to entertain you across all 5 because these are entertainment devices as far as we are concerned. A mobile phone is an entertainment device which you also use to communicate. That's the way we look at it. So for me, that 2.5-inch screen in the palm of your hand is a very important screen to entertain you through, because it's with you 24/7 and it's with you when you're on the go.
And you started, you got into digital fairly early on in the entire thing. I think internet happened in India in 95, 96.
That's right.
I used to hear stories about you all getting into the internet in the late 90s.
So actually, our corporate website, Rajshri.com, was the first website from the media business, really, and we began in '96.
Right.
But we began looking at the internet as an opportunity in 2006. So in November 2006, we were releasing a film called Vivah with Shahid Kapoor, Amrita Rao, and about 6 months before that, about February 2006, I was in Finland at the Nokia headquarters at Espoo, and a bunch of about 40, 50 Indians came to know I was there, and they took me out for lunch. Now they knew exactly what is happening in Bollywood. They knew which film released last Friday, which film is releasing this Friday, who's broken up with whom, who's dating whom. Now, I had come back from the US that time, so I was a little out of touch. So I didn't know this couple had broken, but they knew. So I said, "Hey, how do you see every single film? How do you know all about what's happening in India and Bollywood?" Through the internet. So they actually said that we watch every single film on the internet the day it is released, because we gotta be in touch with our friends back in India. And unfortunately, the closest cinema that we have is London.
Right.
So there's no way I can watch a film in a theater. The only option I have is to watch it illegally on the internet, and we have great broadband speeds. So the instinctive question really was that if I were to make Viva, which was releasing 6 months later, available to you on the web legally, would you watch it? And the answer was an overwhelming yes. So I figured that there are lots of pockets across the world where there are significant number of Indians, and Indian is everywhere, right? They all love Bollywood. Bollywood is something which unites us Indians, especially overseas. And if I can make my film available legally on the web, I can marginalize piracy. I can't eradicate it. I don't think anything can eradicate piracy. But by making my official product available legally, I can marginalize piracy.
So how many days after the official theatrical release?
It was actually day and date with theatrical. 10th November 2006 is when the film released in theaters across the world. So that time we had about 450, 500 screens in India and about 150 odd screens overseas. And there was one more screen which was on the web. So it was released day and date on 10th November at 12 noon, when the first show began in a cinema, is when we began offering downloads on Rajshri.com at $9.99 each. And we did about 6,500 downloads at $10 each in those days.
This is way back in
This was
2006.
in November 06. And it was done purely because we wanted to give people a legal alternative to watch a film which we had made with so much passion. Because I fundamentally believe that there are three reasons why piracy happens. The first reason is that the official product is not available.
Right.
The second reason is that it's available but at too high a price point. The third is that it's available at the right price point, but nobody knows. So I said, can I fix these three problems? Can I make Viva available at a price point of $10, which some people felt was steep, some people felt was okay. I felt, looking at bandwidth costs in those days, I couldn't do it cheaper. And then we also spent a fair amount of money promoting this initiative in NRI markets, traditional non-resident Indian markets. We promoted this offering. And I think we got a fabulous response. We got downloads from pretty much across the world, led by the mainstream NRI markets, of course.
And what is the cut to what the scene is right now? Is it the same? What are the kind of costs which are there? Are movies available on the day of the theatrical release?
So unfortunately, that was not an experiment which went too far. So we did that with our film, and then we had a couple of brave producers like UTV also which supported us. But that fizzled out very soon because cinema exhibitors in international markets actually kind of blackmailed distributors. that if you were to release your film on a website, we will not release your film in our cinemas. So there are two ways of looking at it. You can be cowed down by it, or you can say this is great validation of the power of the internet. I chose to look at the latter, and I said, let me put a lot of my older films up online. Let me actually aggregate feature films and television programming and short form programming back in 2006 or 7. So today we have a library of about 20,000 hours of premium content, part of which has been aggregated and part of which we have produced in-house. So just to let you know, we produce about 150 minutes of original video content in-house for the internet every day. Very few people produce as much content for the web, video content as much.
Many television channels don't produce that much original content every day.
Absolutely. So it's all done with the faith and the belief that I have a global audience out there for my content. I have an audience which can watch any content, anytime, anywhere, and on any device. That content should be our content. Can we make our content engaging? Can we aggregate and produce premium content which actually delights and entertains a global audience?
So what kind of content, you've done all types of content, right? You have entertainment as in films, you have Bollywood songs, you have some Hollywood stuff. What kind of content actually works on the internet?
Okay, so as a company, we focus on 6 genres of content, and we have multiple channels within each genre. So the first and what works the most is really entertainment content, whether it's full-length feature films, it's songs. The second is music. The third that we see working very well is kids content. The fourth is entertainment news. So I can talk about a little bit of each of these. The fifth is food and lifestyle, and the sixth is devotional and spiritual. These are broadly the 6 verticals in which we operate. There are a couple of more, but these are 6 which really give us a lot of traction. And we find an insatiable appetite for entertainment content, whether it's full-length feature films, across languages. We have content in about 10 languages. Songs do extremely well. Songs, whether they are from a film or songs which have been independent music produced really for platforms like YouTube. Entertainment content does extremely well, which also includes kids entertainment content. So we see tremendous traction for a lot of the kids stuff that we have put out, because that content really is able to transcend borders and reach an audience beyond the Bollywood audience.
Tell me something that we were discussing just before we started out, that Baba Black Sheep is possibly your biggest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we have 50,000 videos up on YouTube, and till recently, that video has just been pulled down. In fact, till recently, our most watched video was not a Bollywood song. It was a kids animation 2.5-minute clip, 2D animation clip, really called Baba Black Sheep. 86 million views. Wow, phenomenally. And my highest viewed Bollywood video, again surprisingly, is a 4-minute song. It's called Akhiyon Ke Jharokon Se. It's a classic Bollywood song. So it's none of the recent films or songs.
Yeah, that's a classic movie.
Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, Hum Saath Saath Hain, Vivaah. None of these films really. It's a 1977 Akhiyon Ke Jharokon Se song. And that song has about 15 times more views than Akhiyon Ke Jharokon Se, the film itself. So we find tremendous traction for just great quality entertainment content, and I still don't know what works and what doesn't. So it's like throwing darts. Some stick, some don't, but you try.
But you obviously invest a fair bit. So what gives you maximum ROI?
Clearly it's investment in acquiring Bollywood films. Songs do extremely well. It's a no-brainer. We invest a lot in kids content. That does very well. Our investments in entertainment news, investments in food, investments in devotional and spiritual are now beginning to turn around. And I see insatiable appetite again for food content. So we have a channel called Rajshri Food, which is a 100% vegetarian channel. It does extremely well. It's a niche, but a very, very strong, powerful niche. There is a core passion point in people like myself who are vegetarians to actually go to a vegetarian restaurant or to go to a channel on YouTube which is 100% veg.
Right, and that's obviously doing very, very well, right? Food is a huge plus on the internet.
Food is a huge opportunity. In fact, there's something I want to share with you, and even probably show a couple of clips, to the viewers. Food is one area where I really think we can take the beauty of Indian cuisine to a global audience.
مساء الخير، أنا اليوم راح أقدم لكم وصفة الرز الحار الأشهر بالهند واللي اسمها توا بولاو. هي الوصفة كتير سهلة وبسيطة وكتير طيبة. أول خطوة بنذوب الزبدة بالمقلاية، بعدين بنضيف البصل المقطع جوانح، المفروض البصل ما يصير لونه بني ونحافظ عليه باللون الأشقر ونطلعه من القلب لحتى يتبل.
So this is shot here in India.
Yeah, absolutely. In our studios.
Okay.
So this is Arabic. We also have Spanish. In fact, we've gone live with a Japanese language channel on YouTube. It's called Indono Daidokoro, which means India's kitchen. So it's Indian recipes in Japanese language. And the thinking really was, if we can eat sushi, they can eat samosa. Let's teach them how to make samosa in their language.
And what kind of response do you get to that?
So I think it's been very interesting. It's still early days. We haven't done any promotion at all. We're still ensuring that the Japanese accent, the titles are in Japanese, the descriptions and keywords are in Japanese. So the metadata, just making sure that in terms of a product, it is something which is acceptable to a Japanese audience. It's an Indian speaking in Japanese, so it does have a slightly non-Japanese accent to it. It's like a non-Indian speaking Hindi. So that's
Right.
the feedback we have got, that we would like a native Japanese to actually talk. But it's very interesting. It's a new opportunity. It's what I call a blue ocean opportunity. It's taking the beauty of Indian cuisine to a global palette. And the thinking was very simple. There are 5,000 Indian restaurants in Japan, which really tells me that Indian food is popular in
Right.
Japan. Now, can you make your kitchen in Japan into India's kitchen? So that's the reason we called it Indono Daidokoro. I'm very proud of this experiment. We're ready with Arabic and Spanish language channels on YouTube. They'll be launched pretty soon. As we talk, we are working on Thai and Mandarin too, because I see
And
huge
all of
potential.
this is you obviously don't have any advertising on it.
Oh, so we have the ads that YouTube throws on it.
That's right.
We don't have a sponsor. Of course, it's still
Right.
very early days. At some point, we do expect that, like television, there will be sponsorship opportunities for these channels once we achieve a certain critical mass. But right now, we are monetizing through the ads that YouTube throws, either before the video, which is called a pre-roll, or on the video, which is called an overlay, or on the right of the video, which is called a companion banner ad.
And just for the benefit of our viewers who may be wanting to get into this and being inspired by this, is there decent money to be made? Do you really recover your costs through the YouTube ads?
Okay, so absolutely, we have been profitable, but you need patience, you need scale. So I'm kind of assuming you have great content. So it starts with the content. Ultimately, YouTube is one more way in which people can consume your content. Now here I'm assuming people want to consume your content. So I certainly do feel that if you have patience and if you achieve a certain scale, this is decent money. Again, YouTube is not the be-all and end-all of digital video. So today we have partnerships with over 100 different web and mobile platforms. YouTube, of course, is the first and the biggest partner we have, but by no means the only. So on Dailymotion, we have about 20 channels and over 200 million views on Dailymotion. So on platforms like MSN, on Rediff, on Yahoo, on Hulu, on Amazon in the US, on iTunes, ViewClip on mobile, DigiVive does extremely well on the mobile, Spool, Box TV. There are a number of platforms that we have worked with over the last few years for different types of content. Each platform has a different audience. Each platform has a different business model. So our content does very well in TVOD and SVOD and AVOD, which is really a transaction VOD model, like an iTunes, where you pay once and download the content.
And does this require you to have,
or an SVOD subscription, and AVOD is advertising.
Does it require you to have a lot of staff on your roles to do all of this, to put it on YouTube, Dailymotion, and scores of others?
It completely depends on how you approach your business. There are a lot of content owners. For example, we have exclusive rights of Mukhtar's content. The entire Subhash Ghai library for the internet is with us. They have chosen to partner with a player like us. So they have licensed their content to us for a finite period of term. for a finite amount of money, and we take care of the entire distribution. People like us are actually saying that we want to be content distributors. For us, the content is more important, and let 1,000 flowers bloom. So I wish there were more and more distribution platforms that emerged, so that our content could be on more and more platforms. Or you could actually be a platform yourself. You could actually say that, no, I want to start my own VOD service and aggregate content from people like Rajshri. So there is a lot of opportunity for anybody and everybody in the value chain, depending on your core competence, where you come from. So people like us come from the creative business. If somebody comes from technology, then the first thing he does is to actually build a platform and then come to people like us for the content. So there's a huge opportunity because there's an insatiable appetite for premium content, Indian content particularly, across the world.
Are people from the fraternity, from your fraternity of entertainment,
Right.
other film studios and the like? You mentioned about Mukta Art, you mentioned about UTV.
Yes.
Are the other big filmmakers embracing this?
Absolutely, Pradyuman, absolutely. So everyone has a different approach. A lot of people look at digital platforms like YouTube, etc., from a revenue standpoint. A lot of people look at it from a pure marketing standpoint. So if I'm a film producer, I want to promote my film through a platform like YouTube. I'm not so concerned about the money that I make, because I want bums on seats, and that's where I make my money from. So again, it's the approach that you take. It is the scale at which you are playing. So for example, a T-Series, which is by far India's largest partner on YouTube, is doing an amazing job in terms of both promoting and monetizing its catalog on YouTube. But there are other players who look at YouTube primarily from a marketing standpoint, driving people to cinemas, putting up a lot of behind the scenes, etc., which they can't put on television. They now have a new screen that reaches people. So it's completely dependent on how the production house or the broadcaster looks at YouTube. A lot of broadcasters want to upload full-length episodes. A lot of broadcasters don't want to upload full-length episodes because they have their own OTT service. So
That's
again,
right.
each broadcaster looks at YouTube very differently depending on his ambition. Do you want to have your own OTT play, your own distribution
And
service?
just a forecast. Where do you think where do you think all of this is headed? Say a year from now. Of course, it's difficult to forecast in a big way because technology is driving the business.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But a year from now, where do you think all of this will be headed?
I think a year from now it will be 10x of what it is right now, and both from the content standpoint, the distribution standpoint, and the monetization standpoint. These are three critical layers. So with a lot of content being produced, I'll give you an example of the Viral Fever, TVF.
That's right.
I'm big fans of TVF and what they've done in terms of original programming for YouTube primarily. They are more YouTube centric, but they do an amazing job. They've been able to get sponsors on board. So I think a lot of people will follow in that footstep and start producing a lot of original fiction and non-fiction programming for digital platforms, starting with YouTube and then going on to multiple other streams as well. The second really is from a distribution standpoint. So I see a number of new platforms emerging from across the world. A lot of people reach out to us saying, I've begun this. It could be somebody in a garage, or it could be, a large telco from somewhere in the world saying that I'm starting this VOD service or this OTT service. And third is monetization, with more and more brands actually diverting monies from traditional media to digital. We're going to see a lot of more money flowing into digital. So I
In fact,
see
we
an
have-
explosion, Pradyuman,
Right.
personally. I'm very optimistic.
We have an FMCG company like a Pepsi, which has got an entire new music channel
Completely.
with MTV. So
Absolutely.
do you think people are speaking to you, big FMCG players and advertisers? Are they speaking to players like yourself?
Okay, so the advertiser would primarily speak to the platform. So today, a lot of brands are talking to YouTube saying, we want Rajshri, we want this channel, we want a channel A, channel B, channel C. So it's when I reach out to them with a certain property, the way TVF has been able to build certain properties for which they've got sponsors. It's when we build those properties that we actually will reach out to a brand which is appropriate for that property.
Right.
But right now we interface with the platform that we work with. For example, a Dailymotion.
Right.
And Dailymotion does the ad sales, and we get the lion's share of that.
But tell me, I have a question from a reader who said, with broadband speeds so erratic, is there much scope for entertainment via digital in India?
Insatiable
But with
appetite.
all the buffering?
Insatiable appetite. I am amazed that people find their way and they just want to consume content, whether it's on their mobile phone, their tablets, their desktops and laptops. There's an insatiable appetite. We are seeing consumption go through the roof in India and overseas. And here I have to caution that our audience is about 50-50, India and NRI. But in terms of revenues, we make far more revenues. About 75% of our revenue really comes from overseas, because the CPMs, the cost per thousand impressions, the revenue that you make for every 1,000 ads served, that is much higher overseas. So I think there's an insatiable appetite for entertainment content in India, despite erratic broadband speeds. I am really waiting for 4G to come. I think people like us will be the biggest winners when that happens, which I do expect will happen middle of next year.
The same reader has asked another question, is that in the years to come, do you forecast films and short entertainment shows being produced exclusively for the internet?
It's already happening, my friend. Which world are you in? It's already happening.
Yeah, but films also?
Okay, so we see, when you say films, I don't expect a 150-minute or a 180-minute film to be made. It's just too long. But
Right.
lots of short films already being made for the internet. They are going viral. Again, I'm going back to the PVF example or the AIB example. They've really been able to build a fan following on original shows that have been conceived and produced for digital. So it's already happening. Absolutely. When I say I'm doing 150 minutes of original video content a day, it's already happening. It's only going to go north. So I think there's huge appetite for entertainment and huge appetite for made for digital content.
And obviously comedy works in a very big way. Is that what it is?
I think comedy works really well. It's not as if it's only comedy that works. So yes, comedy works very well. It goes viral very quickly, but a lot of other content actually also ends up doing really well. I mean, if Baba Black Sheep can get 86 million views,
Yeah.
it's
Because I have a question. Ravi Prasad, he asks, I produce serious news video content for YouTube.
Okay.
While my reach is high in text, the views on YouTube are very low. Do you see a market for serious business information content on the desktop and mobile internet?
Okay. So yes and no. I absolutely see an opportunity for serious news and business content. Maybe YouTube is not the platform for it. So on YouTube, we see a lot of entertainment content doing really well. It's a snack platform. It's a platform for the millennials.
Right.
Really, the 13 to 24 approximate age group is the bulk of the audience on YouTube. And I don't know if they would want to consume something which is serious and dry. So A, in terms of packaging, can it be short, snappy, engaging? And B, I would really say that if you could build a platform for this kind of an audience, build a community really of the kind of people who want to consume your content, maybe YouTube is not the answer. So the answer is yes when it comes to an opportunity on the web and on mobile. The answer is no if YouTube is the platform that you have chosen. YouTube can be a supplementary and a complementary platform to drive traffic to your platform. But you've got to build your own platform and then build your own community of people who want to watch this kind of content. YouTube is a flea market, and entertainment does really well on YouTube because of the kind of audience out there on YouTube.
You mentioned about doing work in Japanese and Arabic and the like, and do you see the scope for producing content in regional Indian languages, especially dialects such as, say, Tulu or
Okay.
or a Bhojpuri or whatever? Is there enough scope for that?
Oh, absolutely. So a lot of local language content is being produced today. In fact, we produce some local language content ourselves. It does extremely well. I have 2 points here. A, content which is in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam. Now Tulu is akin to Kannada.
That's right.
Right. But Tulu is a very small opportunity. So we tried something in Odia. A very small opportunity. The local market is very small, and there aren't enough expatriate Odiyas or expatriate Tulus. But there's a huge opportunity in Tamil. So today we have a huge Tamil audience. My Telugu audience is huge. My Marathi audience is huge. We see an insatiable appetite for local language content, especially from markets down south where the consumer doesn't understand Hindi. So a lot of my Marathi audience, my Gujarati audience, my Bhojpuri audience also understands Hindi. So they would rather watch Hindi content. But the audience down south of the Vindhyas really doesn't really understand Hindi very well. So I think there's a huge opportunity in languages like Tamil and Malayalam, Kannada, Telugu.
And some of these obviously have fantastic scope for the diaspora.
Absolutely. So today, from our Tamil and Telugu channels, a majority of our revenues really come from the US in some cases, Singapore, Malaysia, the Gulf. So a huge audience across the world, and a reasonably large local audience as well, which doesn't understand Hindi. So Bollywood is not a competitor in that sense. So Rajinikanth will always be a demigod, irrespective of which Bollywood or Hollywood film releases. In fact, we don't release a film in Tamil Nadu if a Rajinikanth film is releasing.
I'm sure, and everybody's waiting for Linga to happen.
Absolutely.
Tell me, in terms of promotion, what do you do to promote? Obviously, you're on YouTube, and you have all the necessary marketing done through Google. But is there a fair amount of spends on marketing of your content?
We've been very conservative on that front. I wouldn't say there is zero spend, but we've been conservative when it comes to advertising on YouTube or the Google Display Network. And a little bit of advertising is done on Facebook to build our pages. On Facebook, we have a huge audience on Facebook and G+. So we have been very conservative. I think the aim has been to first get the product right and try and make our content as searchable and as discoverable as possible. So things like the thumbnail, the title, description, keywords, proper playlisting, intelligent use of annotations, intelligent use of the entire network. So when we have 40+ channels, can we promote one channel in the other 39? So lots of the network effect is something which we try and bring to a new channel that we've launched. So for example, we launched a channel called Peekaboo. It's a kids channel on 14 November. It was widely promoted within the network of Rajshri channels, and it's done very well. We've got very, very favorable response for it. So there are various ways in which you can intelligently promote your content on the web without really spending too much of money. So we call it a booster shot. So let's not do it consistently. Let's do it in spurts, as in when we require to promote something. That's how we.
And do you work along with the platforms? Do you work with the Google, Facebook?
Oh, absolutely.
And the like?
Absolutely. So we have dedicated account managers at Google and at Facebook, and wherever else we advertise, to actually help us achieve bang for the buck. So they are very conscious that unless we don't get an ROI, we will not spend money with them the next month. Our planning is done every month. A year is too long in my life. So for me, I set targets for my team every month. We do a profit and loss really every month.
And what about telcos? Are they sharing enough revenues with you, or is that a fight still?
Okay, so that's again a fight which we have not got into directly ourselves. That's something which we are working on. So right now we work with a lot of mobile aggregators. We work with a lot of mobile application guys. So ViewClip, for example, DigiVive does extremely well. There's a platform called Hello TV of PK Online that does extremely well. YouTube, Dailymotion, many of these platforms have a huge presence on mobile. So today, for example, on YouTube, about 45% of our views come from handheld devices. So we work with a lot of players who in turn work with the mobile carrier. That's a B2B play that we have. We are now getting into the direct-to-consumer play, the B2C play, where we partner with mobile carriers and launch a direct-to-consumer offering. That's something which is currently being choked out. And I think the operators have realized that they have to be enablers. They have to enable direct-to-consumer players like us to actually reach their audience. And the operator has understood that he has to be a channel for us to be able to collect a microtransaction. So if I want to collect 1 rupee, the mobile operator is the ideal route through which I can collect that 1 rupee from his subscriber, because India is a 95% prepaid market. So in that sense, my wallet is already in the operator's pocket in 95 out of 100 cases. In the balance 5 cases that you and I are, we do end up paying our postpaid bills. So the operator channel is a great channel for us to be able to collect microtransactions.
So is that something that you're going to be doing in the next 1 year?
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully before that. So we're at an advanced stage now of actually working on our product strategy, post which it's a question of reaching out to the carriers. That's a painful process, integrating with their billing systems, and then we start promoting our direct-to-consumer offering via mobile ad networks. So that's a huge opportunity again that's opened up, which has really helped invest in that sense.
So, if I was to look at getting into the business of digital content right away, right now, is there any mantra that you would suggest that will help?
If you know it, let me know. We're still struggling. As I told you, we're throwing darts. We don't know what works, but we keep trying, and we have patience. We've achieved a certain scale. I think it's very important to be honest to your audience. We are building content brands. So for example, Bollywood Now is a content brand that we have built, which is a very strong content brand on platforms like YouTube for Bollywood news. Rajshri Food, Peekaboo, Rajshri Soul, which is our devotional brand. So I think we've been very honest to our audience. We find a lot of other players misleading the audience with misleading titles. And when you click on the video, it's nothing what was promised, or a misleading thumbnail. So we see this very often, that the video is vegetarian, but the thumbnail is non-vegetarian. Because that's the way in which you entice people to click on that video. But I think these are very short-term ways around. So we have to think a little more long-term. We have to build strong content brands based on credibility. And we have to take them to as wide an audience as possible beyond YouTube.
One of the other peeves which a lot of people who get into content is that they feel that digital content is more of a technology play than a content play. What according to you is it really?
Okay. YouTube has 1 billion unique visitors a month.
Mm-hmm.
What do they come to YouTube to do?
For content.
Watch a video.
Right.
That video has to be yours. So I think it starts with the content. It starts with creativity. Then there is a technology layer to it. There is a monetization layer to it. These are of course very important pieces of the business. Otherwise, your content will remain with you if you aren't able to monetize it. But I'm not of the firm belief that it is primarily a tech business. I think it's a business of passion for the creative community. That's where I come from. It's the content that 1 billion people have logged on to YouTube to do. Just one thing. They haven't logged on for anything else except to watch a video, and then to engage with the video, to share it, to like it, to comment. So can we produce that video, and then can we engage you enough that you actually like it and share it and comment and embed and
Yeah, no, the reason why I asked is that
if you
are doing content for print, or you were doing content for television, you know what the technology is like, and you know that this is what you can do. But on digital, technology is moving so rapidly.
Absolutely.
That if you are a content person, if you are a filmmaker, or if you're a TV serial maker, or if you're a chef, then you'll possibly need to spend as much time on technology as much as it is on the content that you produce.
You will also have to spend some time on understanding the platform. If you choose to do it yourself, you could choose to partner with a larger player. you could choose to be part of an MCN. An MCN is a multi-channel network. So, for example, Maker Studios, which was recently bought by Disney, is a huge MCN. So then they would take care a lot of your headache in terms of channel management and monetization. So it just depends on where you are in the overall growth curve, and what is it that you want to do and what is it that you don't want to do. And there are enough partners you could partner with in the value chain depending on what you want to do and don't want to do.
And so would a Rajshri be open to partnering with various content providers?
So we actually partner with content providers. The way we partner is a little different. So we aren't an MCN in the true sense, where we don't aggregate channels into our network. We aggregate content, which is then uploaded as part of our channels. So we want to build our content brands on digital platforms like YouTube. So we would license content from Mukta Arts. We would not manage the Mukta Arts channel, for example.
Okay.
So we would license the content. We want ownership of that content, even if it's for a certain period of time, a finite period of time, and not perpetual. But we would want to upload that content then on our channels rather than managing third-party channels. So an MCN, like a Maker Studio, for example, would actually manage third-party channels.
So are digital rights as high as theatrical and satellite rights, etc.? Are people looking for the same kind of money?
Well, not yet, but I would certainly say that they have become more expensive than home video. So home video was a reasonably significant part of the pie maybe 3-4 years ago. That's evaporated. So the home video market, like the CD and MP3 market, has virtually collapsed, and digital has now actually taken that place, because music has become completely digital. There's a very small opportunity when it comes to physical CDs and MP3s, to the extent that even a company like Saregama, which is India's oldest music label, actually outsourced its entire physical business to Sony DADC, which is a company that only does physical production and distribution for companies like Rajshri, for companies like Saregama, for instance, for Sony Music, of course. So music is actually closely interlinked and wedded to the digital business.
So in the entire play of digital entertainment that you are into, is there something that is worrying you in terms of the way it's going? Is it all hunky-dory, or are there glitches, are there things that you worry about?
Well, like any business, there are challenges every step of the way. But you have to overcome them, because you see the potential at the end of the tunnel. So there is no darkness, there is light in the tunnel. Unlike when I began the business in 2006, where it was a complete dark tunnel and I was walking with a compass and not a map. Today, I think I have a map in my hand. But when I began, I had a compass in my hand, because nobody had walked that path before, to make that map. So things are very different today, and we've seen the evolution of the entire business. I would really caution people against being untrue to their audience. I think it's very important to be true to your audience and not to mislead your audience with the kind of content you produce, the kind of thumbnails, the kind of titles and descriptions you do, just because you want that person to click on that video. That's a very short-term approach. So I would really say that if you can be true to your audience, monetization is a huge aspect. We don't make as much money. No one's ever happy, of course, but we don't make as much money as we should. But I do expect that audiences have moved from traditional to digital, and so will brands, and that's where we will see money starting to flow in. One more very important aspect, Pradyuman, I actually want to bring to your attention, is building a platform where consumers pay a monthly subscription, month on month. This is something which we have not been able to do, like a Netflix. There have been a lot of attempts in India. This is something that the mobile carrier does very well, but on the web, people have not been able to do it for a very simple reason. We have to make it easy and convenient for people to pay. It's very difficult today. If I want to pay 100 rupees to take out my credit card, the base is very limited. But I take out my credit card, I punch in my number, expiry date. It's just too cumbersome for that 100 rupees. So if we can find a way where we can make it easy and convenient for people to pay for content, I have a very strong belief that Indians will pay. We pay, I go to PVR Phoenix Mills and pay $450 for a cinema ticket.
Plus,
Right? So we are used
plus
to
500 for popcorn.
Yes, we are
Right?
used to paying for content. A, give them good content, and B, make it easy for them to pay. So I don't know whether a cash on delivery a model is the right model for an SWOT service. I don't know the answer, but clearly that's a missing link that we got to fix. The mobile carrier has done a great job because of the fact that you have to pay your bills, and 95% of India is prepaid. He is able to collect that 1 rupee from your pocket pretty effortlessly. That's something which we've got to figure out on the web. And I think there's a huge opportunity, both subscription and ad supported, depending on the kind of content you've produced. There's a huge opportunity on both sides of the table.
And are you, I asked you this question earlier, but advertisers are interfacing with platforms and
Absolutely.
looking at the opportunity which exists.
Absolutely. Every brand wants to be on digital because they realize that's where their audience is, and that's where tomorrow's audience is, most importantly, because digital is a young platform. It's got the millennials. That's going to be your audience of tomorrow. Let's catch them today. So we see a lot of brands spending money at college festivals.
Right.
Now there is no direct ROI in that, but they want to catch those guys from FYJC, which is 11th ready in Bombay, to a third year. So we see a lot of brands spending money at youth events like college festivals because you want to catch them young.
Yeah, but brands are willing to invest in college festivals, on television, on print, because they see it there. But a lot of digital is just lip service, isn't it?
On the contrary, Pradyuman, I think digital is the most transparent.
Which it is.
I spent 5 lakhs of rupees in a month to put up a hoarding at Juhu Beach.
Right.
How do you know how many people saw it? What is the ROI on that 5 lakh rupees hoarding at Juhu Beach? But when you spend 5 lakh rupees on a digital platform, you know exactly what you've got in return. So I think the fact that digital is measurable is its doing and undoing in that sense, because it's too transparent. Sometimes it's good not to be so open. I'm just joking, but I think digital is extremely transparent, and you know exactly what you've got. You're able to course correct. So I start a 30-day campaign. 3 days down the road, I see something is not right. I change the creative. I pause it. I increase the bid for that promoted video, for example. Right. So we're able to course correct in that 30-day campaign, pretty much the click of a button, which we do every day, every second day.
Yeah. My point was that
so
despite
it's
all of this,
extremely flexible. It's extremely measurable. What else do you need?
yeah, but despite all of that, the bucks are not coming in. The bucks are not coming in the way they are in the West.
Money always follows audiences.
Right.
So the audience has moved. That I have no doubts at all. We are seeing a huge surge in the consumption of our content on multiple digital platforms, not just YouTube. I have no doubts that brands will follow. I have absolutely no doubts that brands will have to be where consumers are, and especially consumers of tomorrow. Those consumers are on digital platforms.
Great. That's a great note to conclude, I think. So, just as a last question, so what else is keeping you busy these days, apart from digital? How much time do you spend on the fifth screen, or is there anything else that you are busy with?
Pradyuman, a few years ago, I suffered from leukemia, so I'm a cancer survivor, and that changed me a lot as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I realized how privileged we are. If you're seeing me on Google Hangout, you're really privileged. That's what I realized, that I was able to get world-class medical facilities. I came out of leukemia. I think I came out much stronger. I didn't have a single hair on my head. I didn't have eyebrows. I was 30 kilos less than what I am right now, but it's all come back. That taught me how important it is to give back and to thank the Lord for keeping me alive. So in late 2012, my wife and I began Rajshri Foundation. It's a non-profit social enterprise. And the urge in hospital was to do Annadan. I don't know where it came from, but the urge really was to live in a country in my lifetime where no one goes hungry. And that will really happen in two ways. That will happen by serving food to people who are not in the workforce, and by teaching people who are in the workforce how to earn their own bread.
Right, that's a great gesture. And
so we've actually
yeah.
begun a small food with a purpose program, where instead of a langar, we actually serve food to 2,000 children every day.
Let's see the video that you have.
Night schools of Mumbai. So it's hugely satisfying.
Once Rajshri Foundation was formed in late 2012, the first thing we did was to embark on our food program. I was keen to distribute food, but we said, can we fuse food with a purpose? Can that purpose be education? Can food empower people? Can it make people independent of us rather than dependent and lazy? I spoke to my wife, I spoke to my team. I said, this is what I want to do. I want to start with Annadan, but I want to fuse food with a purpose.
During our research, we came to know various midday meal schemes being run by the government and various NGOs, but night schools were sadly being ignored. Children and adults coming to these night schools work whole day to support their families and come at night to complete their education. They are the ones who are tired and hungry for education and food. We decided to serve them because when the stomach is hungry, nothing else matters. Being a mother myself, I knew I can't serve them the same boring food every day. We decided we have to go in for hot food with taste, variety, and nourishment. Instead of hiring a regular caterer, we engaged ladies from underprivileged families to prepare hot and healthy snacks for us. This not only provides them with a chance of being self-reliant, but we also get lovely home-cooked healthy food. We started with 40 students and the numbers are growing rapidly.
It's a great feeling seeing the joy on the faces of thousands of kids. The attendance at schools has increased, lower dropouts, higher retention, and much better academic performance than the last academic year. That's what all the teachers and all the principals tell us unanimously. What gave me a lot of joy was on one of my regular visits to these night schools. A principal tells me that in the last academic year, not a single student passed their 10th. This year, 77% of them. What also gives me so much of contentment are the blessings that my team and I are receiving. This positive feedback goes a long way in encouraging my team and me to continue on this path. We have taken our first step. We have miles to go.
Thank you.
Great, congratulations on this.
Thank you. It's a small initiative, but straight from the heart. And the results we have seen have absolutely been fabulous.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Rajat, it was really enjoyable talking to you, and I'm sure a whole lot of people who are watching us here would have gained, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more content play across the country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.